After my fiancé transferred my dream house into his name for an Instagram giveaway, my lawyer begged me to settle quiet. I said, let him keep the deed. Everyone thought I'd lost my mind. At the final hearing, he smirked as the judge prepared to finalize the transfer. But his smile vanished when my lawyer handed over a single document. I'm glad you're here. Follow my story to the end and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. The marble tiles were still cold under my feet when I realized the man I loved had turned my entire life into a viral stunt. I stood in the foyer of the $1.2 million home I paid for entirely on my own, watching him film a video with a key in his hand, a key to a house that was no longer legally mine. My name is Clara, I'm 29 years old, and I spent 6 relentless years building my interior design firm from the ground up. Every single dollar was hard-earned, leading to the proudest moment of my life, buying my $1.2 million dream home in the hills, entirely in my name. Then came Julian. At 31, Julian was an aspiring lifestyle influencer who measured human worth entirely in engagement metrics and blue checkmarks. I loved him, believing his ambition was just passion. But as his follower count stalled, his obsession grew toxic. The nightmare began on a Tuesday afternoon. While organizing our tax files, I found an official document stamped by the county recorder's office. Julian had taken advantage of a temporary financial power of attorney I'd granted him during a hospital stay last year. He had secretly transferred the entire deed of my house into his newly formed corporate LLC. When I checked his Instagram, my stomach dropped. He had just posted a cinematic video holding my front door key, captioning it, giving away this $1.2 million luxury mansion to one lucky follower at 1 million subs. He didn't just steal my home, he turned my life into viral content. I walked into the living room, where Julian was standing in front of a ring light, uncorking a bottle of expensive champagne for his celebratory live stream. The moment he cut the feed, I threw the transferred deed onto the glass coffee table. Care to explain why my house is listed under your LLC, Julian? My voice trembled with rage. He didn't even flinch. He just smiled, taking a slow sip of champagne. Clara, relax. It's business strategy. The giveaway is going viral. Once I hit 1 million subscribers, the brand deals will bring in millions. We'll be unstoppable. You forged a transfer on a house I paid for. I yelled. Cancel the post and sign it back over to me today. Julian stepped closer, his warmth entirely gone, replaced by a cold, arrogant smirk. I'm not signing anything back. The deed is legal, Clara. You're looking at the big picture like an amateur. You should be thanking me. In that exact second, the illusion shattered. Julian had never loved me. He saw me as a stepping stone. I took a deep breath, forced my face to go completely neutral, and nodded. Fine. Do your giveaway. He thought he'd won. He had no idea he had just walked into a trap. The next morning, I didn't cry. Instead, I drove straight to a high-powered financial attorney named Marcus and hired a private investigator he recommended. If Julian wanted to play high-stakes games using my life as collateral, I was going to make sure I knew every card in his hand. Within 3 days, the investigator uncovered the absolute wreck hiding behind Julian's polished online persona. His entire influencer lifestyle, the designer suits, the rented sports cars, the lavish trips, was funded by a mountain of high-interest personal loans and maxed-out credit cards. He was drowning in nearly $800,000 of secret debt. Then came the real bombshell. To finance the massive promotional push and legal fees for his fake mansion giveaway, Julian had used his newly acquired, debt-free house, my house, as collateral to secure a $500,000 high-risk business loan from a private equity lender. Marcus leaned back in his leather chair with a sharp smile. He put a target on his own back, Clara. He thinks he owns a $1.2 million asset, but he actually just tied himself to a financial time bomb. He has no liquid cash to service that debt. I looked at the audit reports, feeling a cold calm wash over me. What's our move? For the next 2 weeks, I played the part of the supportive, oblivious girlfriend perfectly. On camera, I smiled while Julian filmed his cringeworthy countdown videos. Off camera, Marcus and I were executing a surgical financial strike. Julian's private equity loan carried a strict acceleration clause. If the borrower defaulted on any secondary obligations, the entire $500,000 principal became due immediately. Knowing this, I quietly purchased the original debt note from his primary lender through an anonymous private trust one set up. Next, I compiled every single expense I had paid out of pocket for the house over the past 3 years: renovations, property taxes, structural repairs, and high-end staging. Through Marcus, I formally registered these as unpaid contractor liens directly against Julian's LLC. Because he had listed the house as a corporate asset, those heavy operational debts were legally transferred straight onto his company's balance sheet. By the night before his grand giveaway announcement, Julian was strutting around the house, bragging about his impending social media stardom. He truly believed he was hours away from the morning of the court hearing arrived, framed around emergency injunction Julian's lawyers had filed to finalize the property transfer dispute. Julian strutted into the courtroom wearing a tailored suit, accompanied by his legal team and a videographer, ready to capture his big legal victory for content. When the judge called our case, Julian's attorney stood up confidently, arguing that the title transfer to the LLC was completely valid and executed under full power of attorney. He demanded the judge dismiss my claims once and for all. Then it was Marcus's turn. My lawyer stood up, calmly unbuttoned his jacket, and handed a thick stack of certified documents to the bailiff. "Your Honor," Marcus said smoothly, "my client is no longer contesting the title transfer. Julian can keep the house." Julian smirked, looking at his lawyer with a quiet fist pump. But Marcus wasn't finished. However, Marcus continued, "As the sole owner of the LLC, Mr. Vance has officially assumed all corporate liabilities attached to the property. That includes $300,000 in unpaid contractor liens, back taxes, and accelerated $500,000 private equity loan note, which my client's trust purchased yesterday and is now calling due in full today." Julian's smirk instantly vanished. His attorney turned pale as he hurriedly flipped through the papers. He had won the house, but assumed nearly $1 million in immediate, unpayable debt, ultimate fame and fortune. He had no idea that behind the scenes, I had just acquired his debt, triggered his liens, and legally turned his golden ticket into a financial guillotine. The dominoes fell faster than Julian could process. Within 48 hours of the court hearing, the private trust officially defaulted his account for non-payment. Because his LLC couldn't service the immediate debt, the court ordered a swift freeze on all of Julian's connected accounts. Repo trucks arrived at the house to haul away his rented sports cars. His brand sponsors, terrified of being linked to a massive legal scandal and fraud allegations, dropped him overnight and demanded their advance payments back. The house was forced into a fast-tracked judicial foreclosure auction to pay off the primary creditors. Working behind the scenes through my trust, I was able to buy my dream home back for a small fraction of its actual market value, completely free of any of Julian's messy liens. Julian's grand giveaway video was wiped from the internet, replaced by hundreds of news commentary channels picking apart his financial collapse. He went from posing as a wealthy millionaire on Instagram to declaring full personal bankruptcy, losing his clout, his platform, and every dollar to his name. He showed up at my gate one evening, crying and begging for forgiveness, claiming he got lost in the online world. I simply turned off the intercom and closed the blinds. Today, I sit in my quiet living room, looking out at the hills, surrounded by the home I built and successfully protected. The experience was painful, but it taught me a valuable lesson about self-worth and resilience. I learned never to allow anyone to diminish what I've earned or turn my hard work into their cheap publicity. I'm sharing my story to remind you to always guard your assets, trust your instincts, and stand your ground when people mistake your kindness for weakness. True success isn't about online clout or applause. It's about peace of mind, independence, and respect. If you were in my shoes, would you have given him a second chance or played the long game like I did? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to check out the other stories on screen for more incredible real-life dramas.